Dr. G? Hi, how's everyone doing? It's almost the end of the year, guys. You guys have a little more energy than that. LSU girls won. I'm from Louisiana, so it's a good thing for me. And the UConn guys won. So I am so excited to be here to talk a little about, let's talk about consent. You know, as you heard earlier, it's important to be able to listen. Listening is a tool. It is something that needs to be honed so that you can understand what's happening, interfacing with other folks. So understanding that consent is something that is mutual. And the mutuality has got to be respected. Okay? We have a very short video clip for you, and I want you to pay attention to this because I want you to make connections to this as we
Hi, I'm here and I'm trying to figure out what consent really is and how to get it right. Hey, can I borrow your phone?
No.
Foiled. Hey, can I have your phone?
No.
Damn! Hey, give me your phone. Victory. Was that consent?
No, that was coercion. Consent must be voluntary.
Jonathan?
Yeah?
Hey, can I borrow your phone really fast?
No.
Okay, great. How about now?
No, clearly he was incapacitated and could not give consent.
Hey, can I borrow your phone? He didn't say no. Did I get it right?
No, two negatives do not make a positive. The absence of no does not mean yes.
Hey, can I borrow your guys' phones?
Why? What do you want it for?
It's okay, don't worry about it. I'm sure it's fine, just give it to her.
Tell me I'm good.
Group thoughts make things complicated. Looks like the middle person was intimidated. Sorry, no go.
Look, can I just have your phone?
Just no text or international calls.
Are you comfortable with me changing your ringtone?
As long as it's not disco.
Can I play with your eating center?
No, my games are sacred to me, but you can update my software.
Shazam?
Shazam.
Oh. Tell me, please.
A conscious, voluntary decision without coercion or intimidation with clearly spoken boundaries. Congratulations.
Yes.
Okay, great. So you guys got a good visual of
Excited about
some
sex?
of what we're going to
Great.
talk about.
Well, the other person, right? Cool.
Great. So what is consent? Consent is the positive, unambiguous, meaning that thing where there's no gray area. It's clear, it's concrete, it's yes or no. If there's ever a doubt, if you ever have a doubt about whether or not someone's giving you consent for something, please pause, and that means you need to back away. That's your intuition telling you that's a red flag. Be mindful because you might cash a check that you're behind can't take to the bank. So be mindful of that. So it's agreement to engage in specific sexual activity throughout a sexual encounter. Informed, deliberate, and a voluntary decision to engage in mutually acceptable sexual activity. It is the responsibility of the person who initiates sexual activity to make sure consent is received from any other person or persons involved. Active, not passive, individuals should be able to clearly articulate why and how they believe that they received consent and what they consider to be indications of consent as they engage in sexual activity. Now, if you get to this point here, that means you're defending yourself. And it's sometimes hard to climb out of a well. Really hard to climb out of a well. So before you get to a point where you're saying, well, I gotta now show Go back up to the top where I talked about clearly yes or no. Person is saying yes or no. If there's no gray area, you clearly understand. Because you don't want to find yourself in a position where now you have to dig out a well and you have to defend yourself. Okay? It is not, I'm repeating, it is not inferred from silence. Silence does not mean it's okay to put your hands where they should not be on my body. Passivity or a lack of objection. Silence is not yes. Silence is what it is, silence. You wait. And if you're in doubt, move on. Don't take any chances. The absence of a negative response, such as silence or a failure to resist. Behaviors and comments that do not indicate affirmative consent include, but are not limited to, I don't know. Again, hey, I don't know. So I said I don't know, that's no. Absolutely not. Maybe, again, somebody sitting on a fence. It's no. Take it as a no. A head shake could mean anything. Somebody can have a tick, and you might misinterpret that as a yes. Don't go into that murky water. Lack of objection, not fighting back, a verbal no that may sound indecisive or insincere. No. No is no. Your no is no. Okay? Consent cannot be given by someone who is incapacitated. There are different levels of consciousness. If anyone ever took Psych 105 with me, we talked about levels of consciousness, different ways that we are conscious, when we're aware of our surroundings, we are mindful of what we are doing. If someone is incapacitated, they cannot give consent. I cannot have therapy with a person who is coming. This has happened. People have come into me loaded. And I'm like, we're not doing that, not today. Because see, they can go and say, well, we had a conversation and I wasn't quite ready. And, she said it was okay to do X, Y, and Z. If I doubt it, it ain't happening. No is no. Don't be confused and don't get it twisted. So a person can be incapacitated through the use of drugs, alcohol, or any other intoxicating substance, or medications, or when they are conscious, asleep, or otherwise unaware that sexual activity is occurring. You're at a different conscious level. Someone's not, if it feels funky, it is funky. Go with no. Always side with no. Someone under the legal age of consent. Okay, so in Connecticut, guys, age of consent is 16, but again, do you want to tread in shark-infested waters? Because there's a possibility that the shark might not come to bite you. However, didn't you just do that? I don't want to take that chance. I like what I live. So if you're in doubt and you don't know, it's no. Back away from it. And I'm saying this because I've known kids who are now on the sex offender list. And they're still on it. When they were 17, 18 and they got into this. It's hard trying to climb up out of a well. You need to CYA. Make sure you are covered. Don't take any chances with your future. It's not worth it. So in Connecticut, guys, the age of 16 is considered age of consent. Furthermore, Connecticut law restricts the sexual involvement of a person under the age of 18, with an individual 20 years of age or older, who stands in a position of power, authority, or supervision over such other person by virtue of the individual's professional, legal, occupational, or volunteer status, and such other person's participation in a program or activity. This is what I say to people under age. The onus is on you when you're older. Because, again, it's climbing out of the well. When someone is considered to be younger and you're older, the idea is you should have better knowledge know, this is probably not something I want to get involved in, it's not okay, this person is not necessarily able to make decisions fully, or they can pull back. Lots of things can happen. Need to think through. And again, it's best to be safe rather than sorry. Always ask someone, ask to see, that's the idea when they say ask to see, get to know somebody first. Take a little time to get to know folks before you decide to do anything intimate. Because people lie. You know that because you probably lie. So, if you know you lie, other people do it. Take the chance, take the precautions, get to know folks, know what you're getting yourself into so you're not having to dig yourself out of the well. Someone who is mentally disabled or cognitively impaired. These are vulnerable populations we're talking about. As a therapist, I am a mandated reporter for folks who are understood to be vulnerable populations. People who are elderly, disabled, and then minors. People under the age of 18. So even someone gives consent, if something occurs, I still have to, as a mandated reporter, go forward and say this occurred, X, Y, and Z occurred. Now, when they do the investigation, whatever they find out from that, turns out to be the gospel. But again, as you can see, even though someone might give consent to do something, they're still considered underage. And so you have to be very careful with that, because it goes into a different territory. The use of alcohol or drugs does not relieve an individual of the obligation to obtain consent. Because they were drinking. I come from the South, and there's this old saying, folks used to always say, I remember a little girl, oh yeah, you know what? Drunk man speak a sober man mind. You don't know what that means? It just means like, okay, you can't be drunk, but you just said it's okay. No, it's not okay. Because they're compromised. So you can go along with a drunk man speaking a sober man's mind, but that's not going to stand up in court. Because they're going to be considered to be under the influence and not of sound mind to make certain decisions. So you back away from anything that feels funky. Please start listening to your intuition. Learn it now while you're young. You still have that intuition. People talk about that thing that comes up on the back of your neck and something's going on, you're not sure about it. That's there from a long time ago when we had to worry about saber-toothed tigers eating us and something waiting for when we walk out the cave and they might just want it. It's still there. We still have that reptilian part of our brains. So when you feel those little prickles, like I see dead people, that kind of thing, pay attention to that. It's a warning that's giving you somebody's facing out. Pay attention to it. Okay, thank you. It's important to remember, consent to one sexual act does not constitute or imply consent to another act. Because I told you yesterday it's okay for us to hook up. Next week when I see you, that doesn't hold. Just because I told you yes last week, that don't mean you go put your hands on me this week. You still need to ask. I might not be in the mood. And you might get hurt. So you got to be careful. You need to ask. You always ask to make sure you're getting consent. Previous consent does not imply consent to future sexual activity. Consent cannot be assumed, because you know what that means when we assume, right? Based on the party's relationship or sexual history. So again, because you hear somebody is fast, and by fast I mean they quickly want to jump in bed with you, or they want to jump in bed doesn't mean that they want to jump in bed with you. So again, just because you hear of someone's history does not give you the consent to say, oh, it's okay to do this. You still need to have mutual exchange and mutual agreement for anyone to get engaged in any activity. Consent can be withdrawn at any time before or during sexual activity. I had a friend who used to say to me, yeah, you know what, you dance with a guy. Yeah, you know, and the person's going, no, no, no. So I would stop, and she's like, no, yes. No is no. You hear no, stop. Regardless of what the situation is, stop. It goes into CYA, cover your butt. CYB, cover your butt. You want to make sure you cover. So here, let's look at this. So that's the design I want someday, right here. While he's unconscious, he's like snoring, cutting logs, and she's just snoring away. And he wakes up, you tattooed me while I was passed out? What's wrong with you? You said you wanted it, but I didn't want it when I was unconscious and didn't know what was happening. So again, saying I want it doesn't constitute you doing it. Didn't give permission, not okay. Thanks for letting me borrow your car, no problem. Next week, what are you doing? Borrow your car, you said I could. You can't take my car whenever you want it. That's not fair. You said I could have it once, so I should have been able to have it all the time. So again, we go back to, because I said yes last week does not mean yes this week. You have to ask every time. You need to have consent every time. Don't take that as an open invitation for just, infringing on people's boundaries. Want to catch Pope? Want to watch Pulp Fiction? Sure. Half hour later. I'm not really liking this. Let's do something else. No. You said you watched the movie, so you're staying until it's done. Now this person started moving to kidnapping. It's like, I ain't letting you go there. You're going to sit here and watch this all day. So just because somebody said yes before doesn't mean that they can't change their minds. It happens. No is no. I don't feel like doing it, let's do something else. You don't have to be happy with it, but you have to respect people's decisions and you move on. I brought the cards, now I can teach you poker. Cool. Short time later. Now that I know the rules, I don't think this game is for me. You can't invite me over to play cards and then not want to play cards. I went to all the struggle for you, so you owe me and we're playing. Who says? When did this person become this other person's king and lord? Bless you. So, again, people have the right to change their minds. Just like you have the right to change your mind. We cannot make decisions for other folks. Hey, you, come here, take this. Soon enough, but I don't want to carry this stuff. Stop it. Well, you're dressed like a weightlifter and showing off your muscles. You're asking to be handed heavy stuff. Don't blame me. So again, it's interesting. And we're laughing at this, but people think like this. You guys are acting. You probably felt like this yourself sometimes. Be honest. It's okay to be honest. Truth will set you free. It doesn't make it okay. And you don't always act on it. Because heck, we all have thoughts, guys. The difference is whether or not we act on it. Because then, logic comes in, practicality comes in and says, yes, sometimes I have a thought, but I'm not acting on that. Because it doesn't make sense. It's dumb. So you cannot look at someone and assume, just by looking at them, you can make decisions and they're given permission to have certain behaviors impact them or infringe on their rights as a human being. Okay. So here we have a scenario, guys. So Rio and Casey are dating. Casey is uncertain about whether they should have sex, but Rio is persuasive and finally obtains Casey's voluntary agreement. As they engage in sex, Casey says, "Wait, stop, that hurts." Rio, nonetheless, continues for several more minutes, ignoring Casey. Afterwards, Casey is upset. Rio apologizes, but says they were past the point of interruption. I was past that point of return. That's not an excuse, because the judge looked at you and said, you're not getting past that point of the big, heavy, steel locked doors that you're going to be behind. Because you weren't acknowledging this person said no. No is no. You have control over you. That is the ultimate control that you have of yourself. No one can make you do anything or convince you of doing it because you have the ultimate decision. Someone says no, back away. Back away. Be safe, not sorry. So although Casey initially consented, that consent was withdrawn. At any point the consent is withdrawn, any sexual contact beyond that point is sexual assault. Assault. What it is. And again, you know, I'm being a little facetious here, but they ain't nothing like going into prison and hearing the big steel doors close. If you ain't never been in a prison like I have, visiting folks, and I mean as a professional, and you hear these big steel doors close behind you, that hits you in your soul. There's nothing like that. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse. Not an excuse. So here we go with scenario 2. Devin and Ansley are engaging in a consensual sexual encounter. Devin begins to intensify the level of contact and moves quickly from touching and kissing to penetration with fingers. Ansley responds by pulling away slightly, moving Devin's hands and saying, "Hey, hold on, I'm not sure." Devin cooperates briefly, but then intensifies the contact once more. Ansley inches backwards and then becomes still. Nonetheless, Devin has sex with Ansley. So I'm going to ask you guys, give you guys a minute. Could you talk to each other? Talk to the person next to you for a minute. Talk about that. Let them